You shoot me in a dream, you better wake up and apologize.
Stuff your sorries in a sack, mister.
I thought it was there.
I'm sorry!
Congratulations! You've unlocked All Apologies, a show about apology tours and demanding satisfaction. I'm your host, Andy Q. Public, and with me, as always, is your co-host, Joe Sixpack. Joe, what's going on?
What's going on? Much love to Wendy Williams and her dementia diagnosis. I don't know if that's still current, but she's still struggling, and you know how much I'm a fan of Wendy Williams. Everybody, March 9th, Comedy at the Carlson. Come down. The spirit of Wendy Williams will be alive at our live show. We're looking forward to it. So excited. Kindy will be there. Jenny Jingles, Cardiff, all the other
top talent, like characters. Top build Lucy Tightbox will be
Lucy
there.
Tightbox and Kindy will be there. That's all anybody cares about anyway. I'll see myself out.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not aware yet, then it's already too late. Now, I mean, I do think there's still tickets left. If you can make it, come hang out. But I was just saying on the mini show that we just recorded that we're going to stream on YouTube live some pre and post show shenanigans. And then if you're not able to go and you want to see the full live show episode, you can join the Patreon for $5. I'm going to put it up there. So consider joining the Patreon and supporting the show. But if you want to support the show without having to pay, please follow us on Instagram. You can like and comment and leave apologies and demand apologies on Instagram, or you can rate and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts. That also helps the show. So please, for the love of God, help the show. I'm just kidding. But yeah, today we want to get into the real deal.
Way to go, dude!
We got some comments related to last week's episode, Joe, right?
Yeah, not so much apologies here, but we have some comments, and we like shout out all of our engagement and things like that. So Starbuck LVR sent a message that said, "Solid pod on this topic." This was the last week's Capitol Hill comedy or lack of understanding of what comedy actually is. Solid pod on this topic. Interesting. You cited Hollywood and Toto. Christian Toto is friends with Christian Blatt. If you wanted to talk to him directly about his thoughts on this or other celeb apologies, you could probably hook up. And that's a good idea.
Yeah, I reached out to Christian. I mean, I don't know if maybe we have like something we already covered it. So I didn't really like know how to reach out to Christian Toto to maybe do a follow-up in the future or something like that. I think there's still a lot to talk about with what happened in that way. And I was messaging with Christian here and there. So maybe we'll see what comes of that. But I did want Starbuck Lover to know that his comment did not go unnoticed or
that's Lover LVR.
I mean, that's I'm reading it like a license plate, Joe. So that's what I think.
I think you're dead on with that.
I had another one. I'm just gonna. What? Do you have something further to say about that?
No. My takeaway is that I should be paying more attention to Hollywood and Toto.
Yeah, Christian had good things to say about it, and yeah, let's check it out. And I did want to address that Notorious Cretin on our Patreon said that he wanted to apologize for inconveniencing me by requesting that I put the audio version of the mini show up there. And it was no trouble at all, but I'm still going to dress you down publicly for making me do that.
Oh, so a single format's not good enough for the world now? We need to have like multiple formats for every. I mean, that's reasonable. If you're on Patreon, we will accommodate you. So
yeah, I can relate because I used to have to work without not being able to watch video on my phone. So if people are supporting us financially and they want to be able to just listen and not look, I don't know why you don't just play the video and not look at it. That's what I would do. But we have some people that want the audio only format, and it's no problem to upload it that way. It's a click of a button and done.
I
It
100% support people who just want the audio only format.
Yeah.
Um,
Especially if you have to look at us.
Yeah, who wants to look at this shit? You want to look at Barney Fife and fucking my old CD collection that hasn't been touched in 30 years? Okay.
What else you got?
Another comment from Mike Cobb 1. I've got to know if Fat Edsy was being sincere when he attributed that Orwell quote to the newly woke. I think this is Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. Yeah.
Ed, what say
Ed, were
you?
you being sincere?
I'm stupid.
Yeah. Okay, that sums it up perfectly.
Okay. So no.
So I guess Zach is quoting Orwell or whatever.
Yes, Zach is quoting Orwell. I apologize. I had maybe a couple too many drinks.
Whatever. Zach said it.
I had too many drinks too because I don't even know what the fuck this is about.
In the last episode, you were drunk too. You don't remember. It's fine.
We're all drunk on the internet.
Yeah, right. Look. Oh, you think this is coffee in this, sucker? Okay, speaking of the last episode, I just want to bring up one more thing. We had another comment on the Instagram. Tony Hotfingers wanted. We lent a lot of grace to Michael Rappaport and his stance on Israel, and this was all under the position of Michael Rappaport having the First Amendment rights to say what he wants to say about Israel.
Comedy and free speech.
Right.
Comedy and free speech.
That's what the flavor of the day was. But Tony Hotfinger said, some of your fans support Palestine. They're being bombed while being starved. Maybe support them equally. We love your show. So apparently there's more than one Palestinian enjoying our show that other than Tony Hotfingers, which is great. I support what's going on with innocent lives over there, but he also said this is the minority and these people are. Oh, this is what he's kind of quoting us, where we said this is the minority and these people are fucking morons and they don't know what the fuck they're doing. That was in regard to that guy that wrote that Medium article. I don't think that guy was doing fair and balanced journalism, and I didn't have a problem saying that he was directing those comments from a one-sided position. Is why I said that on the show. But then he said he wanted to demand an apology, and he tried not to say the F word, not fuck. You're allowed, you can have your opinions about what's going on over there. I didn't. This is a comedy show. We were talking about comedy. I cut out a whole bunch of shit about Israel Palestine that we talked on the show because this is not a political show. It was about First Amendment rights and comedy, and maybe it wasn't humorous about comedy, but it was still about comedy, and that's really what that was all about. I support the innocent people that are being killed by Hamas in Palestine.
That's the end of
that.
I don't know if it got cut out, but I will say, like, what I support peace. Violence on either side I don't support. There is a better way to come to an understanding with this. And if you're hang gliding or parachuting into a fucking concert or using American bombs to terrorize poor people on the other side, I don't support any of that bullshit. And I do support anybody who supports this show, whether they're Palestinian or Israeli. I'm completely ignorant. I've said or I've actively.
So I don't want to get into this. This is not what the show is about. And I'm only bringing it up because it was in the comments, and I don't want him to think that I don't care about what his opinions are. And I said what my opinions are. And don't worry, I'm going to cut all this bullshit out anyway. So let's take it to the bridge. Okay. I mean, now that we've gotten all the political talk out of the way, let's get into child abuse, because today we're covering the fun story of Ruby Franke, who's also been linked to Jody Hildebrand. Now, these two are Mormon. Am I remembering this right, Joe?
Yep.
These are YouTubers who, so they're out of Utah. They're these YouTube personalities that they're going to tell you how to raise your kids. They're so good at raising their kids that you need to know how they do it. Everybody needs to look at their perfect lives and emulate what they're doing. And to that effect, they start Ruby Franke starts a channel called 8 Passengers, and that comes from the fact that they have 6 kids plus the parents. That's 8 people in a minivan. So that's when they talk about 8 Passengers, they're referring to her YouTube channel and the show where she shows you what a perfect life she has and how she gets things done, and that's the way you should live your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, this is it's another story that revolves around pieces of garbage masquerading as holier than thou influencers. And you don't need to turn to the internet to reassure yourself that you're living your life properly. That's a mistake if you're doing that, especially if you're doing it with Jody Hildebrand telling you what to do. So all these life coaches that claim to have the cure, the cure is worse than the disease, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Right?
2 million subscribers at I think at their peak, or 8 Passengers, right? So I think part of this is that 8 Passengers is Ruby Franke's channel by herself with her and her husband, and then Jody Hildebrand got with Ruby Franke and they started the, what is it, Concessions or something with an X. That was my biggest complaint with their channel, was like the confusing spelling of their channel name. But they had a couple of channels, some 8 Passengers being like how to raise your kids, and then the Concessions thing being how to be a Mormon. I don't know.
Yeah. And they have another thing. I have a clip that has another channel that they were involved in. It's like an advice channel. They're sitting on a couch together telling you what to do, and it's all garbage. So, but this episode focuses more on Ruby because of her statement in court and her savviness to be the one that rolled on the other one first. It's like, oh, I'm trying to help the cops. Don't I'm not the bad guy. She's the bad guy. But if Jody had been like, oh, it was all Ruby's fault, then we'd be saying that Jody's the good guy. I mean, so it's the way I see it. They're both pieces of shit.
Yeah. Well, we both abuse children, but she abused the children more.
Yeah, it was her idea to abuse the kids first.
Her idea to abuse these kids.
How is that better?
Yeah.
So let's start with a roundup of who Ruby Franke is in my clip 1, Ed.
Because in August of 2023, that is when she and her business partner, Jody Hildebrand, were both arrested out in Utah on charges of aggravated child abuse of Ruby's own children. We now know from court documents that Ruby finished high school but didn't attend college. Kevin and Ruby were members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They lived in Utah. They had 6 children together: Shari, Chad, Abby, Julie, Russell, and Eve. But now in 2015, Ruby and Kevin started the popular 8 Passengers channel on YouTube. And when I say popular, this thing was a hit. It had over 2 million subscribers, a channel that documented the lives of the Franke family. Kevin sometimes participated in the videos. Ruby was really the star of it, giving out advice on things like childcare, parenting, family dynamics, and religion.
Oh, that's interesting. It's called 8 Passengers, and they have 6 kids. But somehow you never see more than 4 of them at a time. I wonder why that is, Joe.
Well, I'm irritated because it can't be 8 passengers if the dad's driving and there's 8 people in the van. He's not a passenger. He's driving.
Oh, we're going to get into semantics?
I watched one of the videos of that, and they were like going through the TSA, like getting on a plane, and they're filming a video while going through the metal detectors and shit like that. If I was there, I would be like, put your fucking phone away and go through the fucking metal detector. All right, this isn't the stage for your social media videos. Get out of my fucking way. I'm trying
Put your
to
shoes
get
on,
fucking
twat.
feasting.
Yeah. All right. Well, fun time's over because these two were treating Ruby's kids like they're running a puppy mill. And Ruby's 12-year-old escapes from Jody's basement like he's Andy Dufresne crawling through a shit pipe out of Shawshank. And he runs over to the next door neighbor's house. And this is a clip of the 911 call in clip 2, Ed.
And I'm on the address of your emergency.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help. He's emaciated, he's got tape around his legs, he's hungry, and he's thirsty. What's your mom's name? Ruby Franke? Ruby Franke is his mom's name. This boy has been... This kid has obviously been... He's obviously covered in wounds.
Yeah, so you can hear in this guy's... I mean, this guy has nothing to do with anything. He's just like looking at this kid that walked over and rang his doorbell and asked him to please call the cops. And the guy's breaking down emotionally.
Yeah.
So it's unthinkable torture methods inflicted on her own children, at the hands of her business partner. So go ahead.
That guy is a hero for making that call, but he does sound like a pedophile on that call.
You thought he was turned on that a little boy showed up at his house?
Everyone in Utah sounds like a pedophile, apparently. No. The props to that guy for calling the cops.
Right. And throwing her directly under the bus. He's like, what's your mom's name? Yeah. Do you want me to spell it? Yeah. But so the only thing that these women weren't doing to these kids, the only thing they didn't have was the hole. Like the Ruby's kid next to Cool Hand Luke in a sweat box in a hole in the ground. They were doing all these other awful things to these kids. And then they're running to YouTube to tell us what a bad job we're doing raising our kids.
I don't know if they were doing these at the same time. Like it feels like 8 Passengers was occurring because half of the reason, I don't know where this will come up or if it does somewhere along the line, but Ruby Franke was like having marriage problems with her husband and he had moved out of the house. That's why we're hearing about how she's being arrested and sentenced with Jody Hildebrand, because via Jody Hildebrand's advice, the husband, Kevin Franke, was advised to move out. And that allowed Jody Hildebrand to exert greater control over Ruby Franke and her family. Yeah. And so the husband is just like not around. But so that's why I'm saying I don't know where in kind of the whole mix here, like 8 Passengers kind of started, and that Concessions podcast that she was doing with Jody Hildebrand kind of like took over as like maybe the main YouTube channel in the dad's absence of his family, basically.
Yeah. It could be a real problem for if you want to hog tie your kids, your husband might not let you do that. So you should break up with him. That's what Jody Hildebrand is saying.
Right. Yeah.
And she's a world-class piece of shit. We're going to get into a little more of that, but
yeah, your bitch boy pussy husband isn't letting us, discipline these children properly. So get them the fuck out of here.
Right. And we're going to flash forward to the courtroom case. And this is the prosecution doing a little more rounding up of
this
the
is the prosecutor describes Ruby's horrible ex.
She committed horrible acts of child abuse. From May to August in 2023, Ms. Franke and her business partner held her 2 children in a concentration camp-like setting.
Concentration camp-like setting? Andy, was your uncle in the guard tower?
Fuck you.
They're all our same uncles. We have the same uncles, everyone. But yeah, concentration camp type setting. I don't know if that's an apt description, but it certainly evokes a certain image in your head of when they say this kid showed up at that guy's house emaciated. And then they describe it as concentration camp like. So it's so like if you look at the fucking pictures of the people at Auschwitz, that's what this kid looked like. That's fucked up.
Yeah, it is fucked up. And then you got Jody
All right.
Hildebrand wearing an SS uniform going,
And you will respect my authority.
Right.
I think we have
so-
there's yet another clip of
Right. In this, there are more of the horrors the children had to endure.
The children were regularly denied food, water, beds to sleep in, and virtually all forms of entertainment. They were isolated from others. They were also forced to do manual labor outdoors, at times without shoes or socks. They were beaten, and the 12-year-old was regularly bound hand and foot. Both children had extensive physical injuries from the abuse that required hospitalization when they were found. In addition to physical abuse, the children were emotionally abused to the extent that each believed, to some degree, that they deserved what was being done to them.
Yeah, so Ruby Frankie's like, I don't care if you want to drink primes and play Fortnite. We're doing Bible study tonight. Well, not Bible study. We're reading that bullshit Joseph Smith, Jesus in America nonsense. Now put your magic underwear on and stop crying, or I'll bang your nuts on the fucking dresser with a spiked bat.
yeah. They were denied virtually all forms of entertainment. I will not stand for this. All these kids need to go to allapologiespodcast.com where you can listen to every single episode for free.
Yeah, every Frankie kid gets a free membership to our Patreon.
Yeah.
All six
right.
of them.
Now let's get into exactly how big of a piece of shit Jody Hildebrand was, because she's seemingly the ringleader and pitching all this pseudo psychology. And I've got a package of clips that are going to spotlight the hypocrisy of this woman. She's as gross on the outside as she is on the inside. Let's hear clip 3, please.
There's other ways to grab your children's attention. It may take more effort, and it probably will take more effort on your part rather than hitting them, because when you hit them, you immediately have their attention. Most kids will be like, and then they'll be like, what do you want? What do you want? I'll do whatever you want. Just don't hit me again. But then you have this dynamic set up of, I'm afraid of you, and I obey you because I'm afraid of you, not because I love you or I respect you or I want to obey you. I do those things out of compliance now. And some kids won't even do it out of compliance. They'll just get hit, and then they'll just look at you like, so now what are you going to do? Hit them harder? Like pummel them?
So you've tried
Now
that?
you've lost your intervention. And more kids are going towards that where they just don't appear to be fake.
Okay, well, I'm just duct taping them to a radiator and not feeding them. At least I'm not hitting them, right? So that makes me a good person, Jody.
Jody Hildebrand's just like, I've beat him with phone books. I've beat him with garden hoses. I've used my fist. I've hit him with a shoe.
I made them listen to Stuttering John's album over and over again for psychological torture.
Yeah. Wow. She's a real hoot.
Yeah. It doesn't end there, though. Let's hear clip 3A for more fun with Jody.
You're not taking things away from them. What you're doing is you've handed them things that they're not managing. And so it's your job to make sure that the first thing they manage is themselves. Like, they understand how to manage themselves. They know how to be responsible for themselves. They know how to not blame. They know how to get curious, which means humble. They know how to ask questions. They know how to say, that doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel right when you're hitting me with a rubber hose so that it doesn't leave marks.
Yeah,
She's mad, bro.
But I think she's a big proponent. I think she pioneered the praying the gay away fad.
Oh, okay.
It seems to be. Does she even have kids? I don't know. She's been abusing the fuck out of Ruby Frankie's kids. I don't know if she raised any children, if she's somehow an authority on raising children.
Oh. Are you saying Ruby Frankie's kids into queer kids stuff? He watches queer kid stuff with
Yeah,
Teddy.
all of Carl's queer kids content. I don't know if it comes out here or one of the reason that she's so implicated in this. We're talking about 8 passengers. Ruby Franke has 6 kids. But the reason Jody Hildebrand is kind of like side by side in the sentencing here is that the kids escaped from Jody Hildebrand's house. Just to be clear with this.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
The call that we heard from that guy, that was Jody Hildebrand's neighbor. So the abuse was occurring at her home on someone else's kids. So Jody Hildebrand is abusing other people's kids, just to be clear on this.
I'm glad you remembered to bring that up. I did neglect to say that, and that is a very good point. So let's hear some more diarrhea coming out of an asshole in clip 4.
You are responsible to protect you, and now you're responsible to protect a baby. So I know that many of us, if not all of us, have been conditioned to believe that, if someone is being abusive, then you need to get away from that person who's being abusive. But it's okay to leave the kids in that environment. And I understand that many of the laws in the world support that. A man or a woman can be being abusive and they still will have their children given to them, which is horrible. And I understand why the law does that, because there's so much deception going on that the law, quote unquote, they don't know where the truth is. They don't know who's telling the truth. So this little boy that you have depends on you, Mom. And I'm hoping that you will be a lioness to protect him.
Well, that's
pretty
kind
sickening.
Of projecting.
Yeah. Can we just agree that an eye for an eye is probably the best sentence at this point with this woman? I want to see her having to do all of the things that she made these kids do, carrying like buckets of water barefoot up a flight of stairs in the beating sun, like she's training somebody in Kill Bill 2. She thinks it's like tough love, but I want to see her get her eye torn out and then eat a poisoned fish head at this point.
I'm pissed that she's biting my style with her black hoodie. Do you have more from her sentencing later on?
Jody's sentencing?
Yeah.
No, I didn't because this is all apologies. There was no apology from her. So we really I'm gonna put the apology up front that the audio from the courtroom apology sucks ass. So less audio of that the better. But go ahead.
Do you have a clip of her in the courtroom? I'm only saying like huge fall from grace here. Like not that she's any type of looker there, but the courtroom scene, like she looks like a fucking drowned rat. Like she looks like she's been, they threw a shiv in the middle of the shower and 4 women had to fight for their lives to make it out. And she looks like absolute shit in the courtroom stuff. So
yeah,
real fall from grace here.
She's gonna be a prison husband for sure. But in clip 5, we get to see some of the manipulation methods that Jody likes to use to convince imbeciles that she knows what she's talking about.
We need you. We love you. We know what power exists inside you. And we want you to be here. So please humble yourself. Become curious about what we're saying. If you start getting reactionary,
she's wearing one of the Infinity Stones.
Stop. Jennifer, stop. Rachel, stop.
In a Marty McFly vest.
Say to me, what am I not hearing? Why am I want to fight them? That's your distortion.
Back in time and correct
comes up in me. Anytime I want to fight someone, I'm like, stop.
Time stone.
Why am I getting so reactionary here? Like, there's no threat here. There's no threat. What's going on? The threat that I say is not here. The real threat is
yeah, she's talking about that, like not waterboarding your kid is just your distortion, Joe. That voice that's telling you to not starve your kid to death is the work of the devil.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm starting to buy in now. These kids have it too good for too long with their Pokemons and their prime flavors. It's all just distortion, and distortion time is over, kids. Now Jody's in charge now.
That was their buzzword, was distortion. Everything was a distortion, and it seemed like that was the bread and butter of the way Jody Hildebrand was manipulating the viewers or the supporters, but also Ruby Franke. That this is it's distorted. Everything has been distorted. Reality has distorted. Everything in our modern society is distorting your relationship with God and the way you're raising your children. Everything's a distortion.
If you disagree with Jody, you're distorted.
Yeah.
Okay.
I heard that many, many times through pulling these clips. Distortion. Yeah.
That's going to be the name. It's going to be the Ruby Franke Distortion Pod. I already have my title picked out.
When Jody Hildebrand's shooting whipped cream out of the can into her mouth, and it's like filling up her cheeks, they're distorting. That's the distortion.
Yeah, her waistline is distorted in the mirror.
All of her pants are distorted.
Okay, in clip 6, we're going to see the mask slip for a minute when the lesson ladies explain that your truth isn't real truth.
And so we're living in a world right now that largely believes truth is this subjective, ethereal idea, like, what's true for me, and you can have what your truth and my truth, and it's all different.
Very subjective, very based on how I feel.
Yeah, it moves, it's fluid, it changes. There's very a lack of base.
Go kick a rock and see how fluid that is.
I know. That's fluid. Well, it didn't hurt.
Well, that's how they suck you in, Joe, because I hate it when broads say that they're living their truth. And facts are facts. And now Jody Hildebrand is brainwashing me. I'm starting to agree with her. Do you still want me to babysit next weekend?
No. I was distracted. I was trying to look up the word ethereal because I don't think that's a word. I may be wrong. I don't know, but I'm like, does she mean ethereal, or I don't know what she's fucking saying. I'm not familiar with the word ethereal, but
no,
maybe I'm the idiot.
You're just distorted, Joe.
Right, it's my distortion.
It's a distortion of the way you pronounce words.
My understanding of the English language is distorted.
This fucking nut. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is where Jody becomes a thirsty bitch because she's fed up with all these goody moms 1-star reviewing their account because psyops aren't working on their kids, and she needs the brainwashed to leave a 5-star review. Oh yeah, moms of truth.
Because they get so mad. They can't control what's going on. They turn right around and go give us a 1-star review. Now, we've made it really easy for them because we've been trying to make it really easy for you to give us a 5-star review. We've put the link on the bottom of every single post. So all you have to do is click the link and give us a 5-star review. That's as simple as it is.
You fucking idiot.
Oh, maybe I have not been brainwashing you people the right way. She spent so much time convincing you to cane your 9-year-old and not enough time brainwashing you to leave a 5-star review and smash the like button. Clip 8.
What do I have to do? Come over to your house and torture your children until you give me a 5-star review?
But you guys aren't doing it. I think we've had 5 people from the last time I asked, which was probably a month ago. 5 out of almost 9,000, 5 people give us a review that's 5. And we've had probably 50 to 75 people give us 1-star reviews. So we started with a 5, and in 3 months we're down to like a 2.
So the brainwashing isn't going to work. But that's not going to stop me from trying it. You will leave All Apologies podcast a 5-star review. You will join our Patreon for just $5 a month. I'm doing this because it's only $5. Now go smash that like button. What is she doing?
She really is.
Your show sucks. Nobody's giving you a 5-star review because it's all just you fucking begging for fucking reviews. It sucks. You suck.
You will send me pics of your double D's. No fat chicks.
No Jody Hildebrands.
Okay. All right. Well, that was fun, but fun time is over because now we're going to get into the courtroom apology section of the show where this is the defense, right? Talking about Ruby Franke and, how sorry she is in Joe's.
So we're going to go back just a little bit before we heard the prosecution talking about everything that's been going on. Now here is Ruby Franke's sentencing. So I don't know if we said this. Ruby Franke kind of like rolled on Jody Hildebrand, essentially throwing her under the bus for justifiably, as far as I can tell. But so here is Ruby Franke's defense attorney. Ruby's hype man and lawyer is going to rizz up the judge on her behalf.
I want the court to know that through introspection and reflection, Ruby Franke has become a serious student of her own actions. In the very early days of my involvement with Ruby, she was somewhat defensive, and she was still very much indoctrinated into a philosophy that was destructive. Fortunately, Ruby came to the stark realization of the errors in her thinking patterns and subsequent actions. To say that she was horrified by this realization would be to put it mildly.
Yeah. When the police put handcuffs on me and told me I was going away for a long time, I somehow came to the realization that what I had done was horrible. Yeah, that's how it usually goes, right? No one realizes that they're horrible when they're getting away with it. They just think they're really, really smart.
Right. You will ignore how shitty these clips sound. You will not message me that it sounds terrible.
Yeah, that apologies from our side. That is the courtroom fucking audio that sucks ass, and it was like all over the fucking place. So apologies for these courtroom clips here. In this next clip, the lawyer talks about how quickly Ruby changed her way of thinking when the prison guards told her that it was bologna for dinner again.
I have marveled at how quickly Ruby abandoned her defensive stance and moved toward her total acceptance of her actions and to her sentence today. So far, she has used her time in jail to unwrap the layers upon layers of deceit and deception foisted upon her over the last 4 years by an unscrupulous individual.
Yeah, he marveled at how she unwrapped the layers of deceit and deception. You mean how she instantly played victim and blamed it all on Jody Hildebrand? What a hero! Case dismissed!
Now that I'm caught and in jail, I can clearly see how I was manipulated. I swear, Your Honor, it was all Jody's fault.
Yeah. Oh, you mean I'm not supposed to smash through a jewelry store window and take all the shit? Now I get it. In this next clip, Ruby's Flavor Flav says she's a delight.
I would like the court to know that Ruby Franke is a delightful, respectful, and responsible person. She is open to feedback and addressing the consequences of her actions head on, and now ready to address your honor and accept your judgment.
Oh, accept consequences? You mean she has no fucking choice, right? Also, she's a delightful, respectful, and responsible person, just not to kids. Just not to her own kids, right? All right.
I was delighted to learn that the woman who was telling me I was parenting wrong was either A, malicious child abuser, or B, too stupid to realize she was being manipulated by a malicious child abuser. But at least she's open to feedback. Because my feedback is you get Epsteined in prison.
She's open to feedback. Great. Yeah, that's what I say at my job when I freaking work with somebody on a project. I'm open to feedback.
Yeah, put your pants back on, Joe. That's the feedback.
My short shorts. That's for our Patreon people. Okay. Are we I'm still going here? Are we
Well,
going through
you
all of
know,
Ruby's
it's pretty much all your show now. So now we're going to get into like the apology proper, where Ruby throws Jody under the bus and tries to walk back all the horrific shit she put her own kids through under the nose of her husband.
Yeah, right. So now we get to we've heard from the prosecutor, we've heard from the defense attorney. Now Ruby Franke is going to make her statement. And in this first clip, Ruby explains her dark delusion.
For the past 4 years, I've chosen to follow counsel and guidance that has led me into a dark delusion. My distorted version of reality went largely unchecked, as I would isolate from anyone who challenged me. I was led to believe that this world was an evil place, filled with cops who control, hospitals that injure, government agencies that brainwash, church leaders who lie and lust, husbands who refuse to protect, and children who need abused.
It sounds like she's just been binging crystal meth since her husband left. Bill Gates is trying to upload the Antichrist to my uterus. Well, every fucking organization and fucking institution has been corrupted, except for me. According to Jody Hildebrand, it's up to me and her to restart society, and it starts with beating the piss out of my kids.
She was still even using that distorted line in that apology. She was like, "Oh, my reality was distorted."
Delusion now, Andy.
Oh no, but she said distorted in there. She did.
Yeah, maybe. I'm sure.
I mean,
it was all fucking. Jody Hildebrand had distorted her fucking whole thinking.
Oh, she had convinced her that there were all these evil things in the world. Well, newsflash, those things are out there, and you're one of them.
Well, what it was like, it goes essentially unsaid here for the most part, but you have to believe that Jody Hildebrand's perspective was that if you weren't injecting the doctrines of Joseph Smith into all aspects of your life, then you're a corrupted person who can't be trusted, whether it's a police officer, a doctor, your pastor, anybody else. You know, if you're not following these teachings, then you're distorted.
Right. And she's saying all these things. She's like walking over to the prosecutor's side. She's like, all these monsters should burn in hell. Am I right, folks? And she's like moving over to the other lawyer's side. It's like, they're the bad guys, right? Not me. I'm with you guys. We're not buying it. That you're the victim now.
Right. So in my Ruby 2 here, Ruby wants to be accountable, but she also wants to point the finger.
Jody was employed as my son's counselor in 2019, and in 2020, I paid her to be my mentor. It is important to me to demonstrate my remorse and regret without blame. I take full accountability for my choices, and it is my preference that I serve a prison sentence.
So you were paying someone to abuse your kids and take you down a twisted road that led to decades in jail. Yeah, I do think I'll take that crystal meth now. I think it's time for the crystal meth.
I should serve a prison sentence. Oh, good, because you will. That's going to happen.
You can't put me in jail. I want to go there.
Yeah, right. She's like a kid that gets caught swearing, and she just puts the bar of soap in her own mouth. You're going to regret this when your father gets home. All right, I'll just start drinking a bottle of palm olive now then.
Oh, the soap's gone. Now what are you going to do?
Yeah.
All right. So we're skipping the clip 8 here, Ruby 3. We're going to Ruby 4, and here's actually an apology.
My dear friends, Pam and Roy, I'm so sorry for letting you down. Because of your association with me, your innocence was called into question.
So there, we've heard 8 passengers this whole time. That means there's 6 kids. From what I can glean here, the 2 oldest were like out of the house, either going to college or
Is that Pam and Roy or whoever she's named?
Chad and fucking Skylar. I don't know. The younger 2 are the ones who are being abused, and then there's the middle 2. I think so. The apology to these neighbors, these were the good people that were watching the other kids, I believe. So these folks now have a fence company on speed dial, and they're checking their HOA codes, and they're building the largest stockade fence that is allowed by the local ordinances to fucking stay away from these people. So she's apologizing to the good, normal people that were
Right.
helping her with the other kids, you know.
Yeah,
So
these Mormons are left to justify that not all Mormons beat their kids like this. And
the
Ruby
one
Franke is the Derek Chauvin of Mormons.
the one bailiff in here, like we've seen him a little bit, like he's kind of in the background. Nobody looks more like a freaking, you know, soldier of the Lord than this fucking bailiff in the courtroom. But
Pissed.
what?
He looks pissed.
He looks pissed at this woman who fucking let her kids get fucking abused by not a relative. Okay, so in this next clip, Ruby's all, I'm not trying to hear that from her family.
My mother-in-law, father-in-law, Kevin's family, my cousins, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, and neighbors, you all saw the warning signs long before I did, and you did what you could. You wanted to help, but I pushed you away.
Yeah, it sounds like there were some real awkward holiday dinners leading up to this incident. Hey, Ruby, does Skylar want to come inside and open presents, or how long does this code red hazing go on for? All she said was that she hopes she gets a Nerf gun for Christmas.
Not listening to your in-laws is the most normal thing she said in this whole statement. That's what everybody wants to do, right? I'm not going on your family zip line excursion, and I'm not letting my son out of the basement. Okay, go away, cousin Rita.
Yeah. Nobody's surprised that you don't want to listen to your in-laws, but hear from her parents, we're not mad. We're just disappointed.
My mother and father, I have been utterly wretched to you. You have offered me unconditional love.
Finally.
For that, I have offered you unconditional contempt. My siblings and their spouses, because of my decision to roll around in a pigsty, I have dragged your families through the mud in public.
Yeah, this just sounds like the beginning of every call to better help.
A metaphorical pigsty, unlike my sister-in-law Sheila's house, which is a literal pigsty. Fuck you, Sheila. I apologize to everyone except you.
It is. I didn't talk about too much of it, but if you research this in any way, which I don't recommend, I mean, don't bother.
It's horrific.
Excuse me. It's a horrible story, but a horrible story from horrible people. But if you look at it, it's all just her being this like mom influencer of, she's wearing, the knee-high boots, the suede, and a fucking floppy hat with a fucking scarf and the fucking, it's her, like all the kids are facing away from her and she's looking at the camera and she's like, look, I'm the best at this. It's really despicable. All arrogance and narcissism from her, basically. In Ruby 7 here, you aren't the first one.
I'm sorry for twisting God's word and distorting his doctrines. My greatest desire is to stand in his court someday spotless and confident.
Yeah, this Mormon is sorry for twisting God's word. And then Joseph Smith said Jesus visited the Native Americans in America, and he healed them from the smallpox blankets, and they in turn adorned him in turquoise brooches from the Southwest, and it was good. Yeah. We know you've distorted God's word. It's been happening for a long fucking time in the religion that you have been praying.
Well, everybody knows you just do the deathbed absolution. All your sins are forgiven, and you just dance into heaven, no matter how awful you were on this plane of existence. And then that's the best known loophole for assholes. I think they should just start calling loopholes assholes anyway. And you found this asshole that allows me to get away with everything. And now it's me and Mother Teresa side by side in heaven.
Andy, I ate 3 Taco Bell burritos the other day and blew out my loophole.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, if anybody doesn't know, Ed reminded me here. We are in the heart, the cradle of Mormonism. By the way, in upstate New York, not an hour away from where I sit right now, is where Joseph Smith dug the gold tablets out of the fucking ground and told some dumb fuck that he was the messenger of God.
Those 6-packs, great granduncle.
The same guy that fell out of the guard tower is also right there in Palmyra. Here in our last clip here is the sentencing.
The sentence will be that Ms. Franke serve 4 counts, 4 1 to 15-year sentences based on her convictions for 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. Again, they will be served consecutively pursuant to the parties' agreement.
Yeah, Andy, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know the difference between beating the shit out of your kid and aggravated beating the shit out of your kid. So I don't know if there's a lighter sentence of just, regular beating the shit out of your kid.
Yeah. So it could be up to 60 years. I don't know if it's been decided yet. Could be as little as 4, but let's hope for the max is what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
And when it comes to figuring out whether or not we accept or reject any apology from this person, I'm going to have to go with this one.
Fuck you!
Ruby Franke is sentenced to up to 30 years in prison. I'm just looking at this right now. She was given a sentence of 1 to 15 years for each of her 4 counts of child abuse. There was like a separate kind of hearing for like a discretionary board or something. Producer explained outside of the courtroom that the sentence for her crimes is capped by state law at 30 years maximum. So I don't. What the fuck is the point of this then? I mean, so it's already half of what they're.
Is that for each charge? Is that for each charge though?
Well, what the judge just said there is 1 to 15 years for each charge, and there's 4 charges. So it's a minimum of 4. No matter what happens, minimum of 4.
That's what I said.
The max is not what the judge said. The max would be up to 60, but now due to like whatever Utah's leniency on fucking child abuse has cut that immediately in half. So I don't think we still know the exact max that she can receive, but she won't get more than 30 years, and she should get all 30 probably.
I support that.
Yeah.
Do you want to sound off on what you think? Do you accept or reject these?
Fuck all that.
No.
Yeah. I do have you were asking before if I had any of Jody Hildebrand in the courtroom, and I do.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm pretty sure she's going to get a similar sentence, but I sentence you to a night of fun at Comedy at the Carlson next Saturday
with all the other pedophiles and child abusers.
Subreditt Surfing Live with Vinnie Paulino and Carf Electric, featuring the All Apologies podcast.
You guess if they're pedophiles or child abusers.
What's the over under on how many people are sex offenders on stage? But that's coming up next week, and we're going to live stream on YouTube, pre and post shows. I got to figure out. I got to make sure that we can, I don't know, get like a microphone or something so it doesn't sound like absolute shit. But that is going to be available for free, pre and post show shenanigans for the live event on our YouTube channel. And then if you want to see the actual episode, the live episode, then we're going to put that on Patreon. So please consider joining the Patreon for $5 a month. You get a mini show with the video element every Monday. And then you also get the video version of the podcast. So You can find that at allapologiespodcast.com. You can join the Patreon there. And it'll also direct you to the Instagram account where you can support the show for free by following and commenting and leaving apologies, demanding apologies, or you can rate and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts, and that helps the algorithm and supports the show for free. So for Joe Sixpack, I'm Andy Q Public saying,
stay sorry.